Napper here from Enduro Engineering coming at you today. We're going to go over a couple tips and how to install your debris deflectors correctly with a full wrap design that we have. We have a few calls we get every now and then or emails that people are not having a problem installing them. We're going to give you some tips on that today. So you can see where I installed the throttle side. We're going to install the non-throttle side. And what I like to do is take it, you can either put your deflector on or not, but just take it, have your hole in there, and I just like to set it in there and just snug that up a little bit, the taper lock. Don't get it really tight, but just snug it up a few turns. And depending on the bar that you have on your motorcycle, when you order your full wrap debris deflectors from us, there's going to be a number on both the clamp and the cap. And this is where a lot of people get confused, and we get calls and emails and hey, this doesn't work. And now this is also for pretty much any bike that you have with a fat bar or a taper bar. So on these, there's going to be a number on each side of both the cap and the clamp. And then what you want to do, you want to make sure that is facing inward towards the bar clamp itself or to the center of the motorcycle. Because if you happen to switch these around and have the numbers, or on the twin walls will be a TW on those, if those are facing outward, then those aren't going to fit properly, and this is what we get, hey, these won't work and all. But if you do that correctly, and also another thing to point out, these are all made for stock length bars, so if you cut off quite a bit off your bar, you're going to have problems installing the full wrap debris deflector. Okay, with the taper lock installed in the bar, just leave that a little bit loose. Again, take your clamp, and then with the number facing inwards or towards the center of the motorcycle, go ahead and grab your supplied M8 by 125 bolt and just get that started, and just get it like snug. You don't have to just finger tight right now, and just get that started. And then now I like to get the cap. Again, there's numbers on the cap. Make sure that is pointing inward or to the center of the motorcycle, and your two supplied M6 by 1 bolts, and then again just kind of get that and just again finger tight those or just get those started. Okay, now that I have all these bolts started and everything, what I like to do now, since we already set our height and our angle of the throttle side, is I'd like to tighten this down fully. Make sure this is against the bar. Get that nice and snug, and then you can come to the front and just make sure your angle's the way you want it, and tighten that right down. And then after you get that tightened, I like to come to the front and take a 10mm socket or T-handle, whatever you like to use, and then I tighten this right down. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a gap here. I kind of went ahead and just kind of snugged those there. And what's nice about this material is actually a little bit softer than what the bar is. So what that does is when you tighten this down evenly, because you want a pretty equal gap on both sides of this clamp, what that does, it helps lock that clamp right on the bar, and it helps with rotation if you happen to crash, so it doesn't rotate for you on there. So now I just like to kind of go through again with an 8mm socket, and I'll just kind of snug these up so I can get my gap right on both the bottom of the top of the clamp and cap. And as you can see now, we got a pretty even draw down onto that bar, and you can see how it's sucked right onto that bar. And then once it gets there, just give it a good, tightening, and you're pretty much ready to go after this. You're good to go ride your motorcycle. Here's a couple tips and tricks for you. We're going to show you on installing your full wrap debris deflectors, and hope this helps you out. Okay, as you can see, the way our clamps are built, they have a nice swoop in there, and why we did that is there's a lot of different brake lines and clutch lines nowadays with hydraulic brakes out there, and the way they connect to the master cylinders, we put that in there to give you clearance to run the clamp and the cap where you need to be tight at on the bar. But say if you run in something and this is on the bottom side, but if you need to, you could always mount this like on the upside too. It doesn't matter, just as long, again, you got to remember that the number is facing inward. So when you go install our full wrap debris deflector, you're going to have to at least cut a hole in the throttle tube. And what I like to keep in my toolbox is a unibit or a step drill. and it makes a nice round hole in there, and we're going to show you how to do that. So after you get done to a point, I like to just make sure I feel in there and there's no ridge or anything so it doesn't drag on the handlebar. I can still feel a little bit, so I'm going to take a little bit more material out of there. Then at this point, I always take a nice pair of sharp side cutters and just trim off that extra rubber from the grip so there's no drag on the bar as well. Okay, now that we have a nice perfect hole, kind of trim the rubber around there. I like to just slide the grip on the bar, make sure there's no drag, and then go ahead and throw your throttle assembly back on. And also, you know, people with the lock-on grips and that, you'll have to do that the same on the non-throttle side. Obviously, you don't have to be as precise because all you have to do is make sure you have enough space for the taper lock to slide in and tighten down. Another trick that I do too for the people with the glue-on grips on the non-throttle side, I just take a hammer and hit it a couple times and it cuts a perfect hole, and then, you know, rip the end of the grip out and you're good to go. So again, thanks for watching, tips and tricks there. And again, if you guys have any questions, visit us at enduroeng.com or email us and we can get you going again. Thanks again.